Lemuria or Lemuria was a continent proposed in 1864 by zoologist Philip Sclater, theorized to have sunk beneath the Indian Ocean, later appropriated by occultists in supposed accounts of human origins. The theory was discredited with the discovery of plate tectonics and continental drift in the 20th century. The hypothesis was proposed as an explanation for the presence of lemur fossils in Madagascar and the Indian subcontinent but not in Africa or the Middle East. Biologist Ernst Haeckel's suggestion in 1870 that Lemuria could be the ancestral home of mankind caused the hypothesis to move beyond the scope of geology and zoogeography, ensuring its popularity outside of the framework of the scientific community. Occultist and founder of theosophy Helena Blavatsky, during the latter part of the 19th century, placed Lemuria in the system of her mystical religious doctrine, claiming that this continent was the homeland of the human ancestors, whom she called Lemurians. The writings of Blavatsky had a significant impact on Western esotericism, popularizing the myth of Lemuria and its mystical inhabitants. Theories about Lemuria became untenable when, in the 1960s, the scientific community accepted Alfred Wegener's theory of continental drift, presented in 1912, but the idea lived on in the popular imagination, especially in relation to the theosophist tradition.
Evolution of ideas.
Lemuria was hypothesized as a land bridge, now sunken, which would account for certain discontinuities in biogeography. This idea has been rendered obsolete by modern theories of plate tectonics. Sunken continents such as Zealandia in the Pacific, and Mauritius, too, original research, and the Kerguelen Plateau in the Indian Ocean do exist, but no geological formation under the Indian or Pacific Oceans is known that could have served as a land bridge between continents. The idea of Lemuria was later incorporated into the philosophy of theosophy and has persisted as a theme in pseudo-archaeology and discussions of lost lands. There is a vast fringe literature pertaining to Lemuria and to related concepts such as the Lemurian Fellowship and other things.
Lemurians
all share a common belief that a continent existed in what is now either the Pacific Ocean or the Indian Ocean in ancient times and claim that it became submerged as a result of a geological cataclysm. An important element of the mythology of Lemuria is that it was the location of the emergence of complex knowledge systems that formed the basis for later beliefs. The concept of Lemuria was developed in detail by James Churchward, who referred to it as Mu and identified it as a lost continent in the Pacific Ocean. Churchward appropriated this name from Augustus Le Plongeon, who had used the concept of the Unquot, land of Mu and Quot, to refer to the imaginary lost continent of Atlantis. Churchward's books included The Lost Continent of Mu, The Motherland of Men, 1926, The Children of Mu, 1931, The Sacred Symbols of Mu, 1933, Cosmic Forces of Mu, 1934, and Second Book of Cosmic Forces of Mu, 1935. The relationships between Lemuria, Mu and Atlantis are discussed in detail in the book Lost Continents, The Atlantis Theme in History, Science, and Literature, 1954, by L. Sprague de Camp. Pseudo-archaeological and New Age beliefs about Lemuria have been promoted in books by fringe author Frank Collin, writing under the pen name Frank Joseph in books published by Inner Traditions, Bear and Company. Additional discussion of fantastic speculation about the imaginary land of Lemuria are examples of Lemuria in popular culture. Scientific origins postulation, 1864. The Mammals of Madagascar and Quat, by zoologist and biogeographer Philip Sclater, appeared in the Quarterly Journal of Science. Using a classification he referred to as lemurs, but which included related primate groups, and puzzled by the presence of their fossils in Madagascar and India, but not in Africa or the Middle East, Sclater proposed that Madagascar and India had once been part of a larger continent. He was correct in this, though in reality this was Mauritius and the supercontinent Gondwana. The anomalies of the mammal fauna of Madagascar can best be explained by supposing that a large continent occupied parts of the Atlantic and Indian Oceans, that this continent was broken up into islands, of which some have become amalgamated with Africa, some with what is now Asia, and that in Madagascar and the Mascarene Islands we have existing relics of this great continent, for which I should propose the name Lemuria. Parallels Sclater's theory was hardly unusual for his time, and Quat, land bridges and Quat, real and imagined, fascinated several of Sclater's contemporaries. Étienne Geoffroy, Saint-Hilaire, also looking at the relationship between animals in India and Madagascar, had suggested a southern continent about 2 decades before Sclater, but did not give it a name. The acceptance of Darwinism led scientists to seek to trace the diffusion of species from their points of evolutionary origin. Before the acceptance of continental drift, biologists frequently postulated the existence of submerged land masses to account for populations of land-based species, now separated by barriers of water. Similarly, geologists tried to account for striking resemblances of rock formations on different continents. The first systematic attempt was made by Melchior Neumeier in his book Urgeschichte in 1887. Many hypothetical submerged land bridges and continents were proposed during the 19th century to account for the present distribution of species.
Thanks for watching. Thanks for watching. Thanks for watching.